Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2025 Wyndham Championship DFS Tactics Show. Per usual on a Wednesday night, we're going to take a look at the mixed condition model that I made for the Wyndham Championship and Sedgefield Country Club. We're going to take our final look at the forecast. A very special portion for tonight only because it is the final regular season event on the PGA Tour. We'll take a look at the FedEx Cup standings, see who is on the bubble. We'll make some lineups, and of course, at the end of the show, we'll go over the 2025 Picks Challenge between Gabe and I, so you don't want to miss out. We have a lot to do. Let's get into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description of the video, there are links to all of the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where earlier this week I posted some research regarding the past winners of the Wyndham Championship going back to I think 2016. Some patterns that those winners all shared, and the players in the field this week who also fit those patterns. So if you want to see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and top player usage in the DFS contest I play. That comes out every Wednesday after the DFS Tactics show. So that will be out later this evening. You want to see the players I'm wagering who have hit 2 outrights in a row. We're going to try to make it 3, obviously. And you want to see the players I'm using most often in my lineups, go give me a follow over at X. Lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle's in the description. He writes a great article called The Fringe. I can't recommend it enough. Really is a great way to start your week of preparation. And by subscribing to his article, you're going to be able to get his deluxe version, which comes out every Wednesday earlier in the day. Has his favorite plays, values, projected ownerships, all of that. So you really are missing out if you aren't subscribed to his article. Make sure you're doing that, and follow him over on social media, because that is where we place our detailed write-ups for each selection of the 2025 Picks Challenge. Those were posted about an hour and a half ago now. So make sure you're following him over on social media. Show him some support. Lastly, for this intro, we are live. Chat's open. Want to hear from you all. I have a poll question typed up, so I want to hear from you all. Please fill that out. Let me know what you think of that. Jump into chat with who your winner is, who you're targeting, who you're staying away from, what kind of lineups you're building, all of that. Anything and everything Sedgefield and the Wyndham Championship, player A versus player B, lineup construction, any and everything we're here for. So put your thoughts and opinions in the chat. And if you're not able to catch the show live, put your thoughts and opinions into the comments. I'll always get to those as well. So let's get into it. Let's figure out our strategies and our tactics for the 2025 Wyndham Championship. We're going to start, as we always do, on a Wednesday evening with the super forecast. I say that as I am on the bubble for the PGA Tour, so we'll take a look at that afterwards. Let me post this poll question. Pretty thematic, since it is the final regular season event on the PGA Tour. You're going to hear all about the bubble all week on broadcasts and stuff. How many players play their way into the top 70 for next week? I only have 4 options, so I try to cover as much of a range as I felt was appropriate. So again, please put your thoughts and opinions in the chat and fill out the poll question. Would love to hear from you all in that regard. The forecast for Sedgefield looks pretty benign. Looks pretty good. They've had some rain this week, although nothing today. There was rain in the forecast overnight tonight at all because everyone's dealing with some wind tomorrow. The course or the wind direction does change. You see cardinality, it's south to north Thursday and then north to south basically on Friday, but it doesn't change mid-round. So everyone's going to be playing the same course on that day, just different courses, 2 different days seemingly, with the difference in wind direction. Not a whole lot of wind, some maybe gusty winds tomorrow morning, but not a whole lot of wind tomorrow, a little bit of wind on Friday. And if we zoom out for Saturday and Sunday, looks like it could be gusty for the majority of the day. And then Sunday, again, just looks fairly pleasant. Saturday, the high seems to be, in the mid 70s. So that's looking very, very nice. There is a little bit of rain in the forecast, like I mentioned, overnight Thursday into Friday. But we'll have to see. But other than that, I think the tournament organizers are going to have the course play just the way they want to. So again, just a quick recap. I didn't factor in any kind of wave advantage. If you want to give a slight favor to the Thursday AM, I understand why. I just didn't factor it in with my decision making. Good evening, John. Thanks for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. Hopefully you're ready for the final PGA Tour event, regular season event. The Wyndham. It's good to have you in chat. I know I didn't get into it Monday night. Granted, I was broadcasting during a thunderstorm, but where we're going to go next is something that you brought up Sunday in our initial research. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bubble and see what players are, needing a good performance to secure their top 70 finish and move on to the playoffs for next week. I've got it at the top 60. If you wanted to scroll up just a little bit, like Aaron Rye, Yeager, Grazerman, Hughes, they're all here this week. I don't think they're in much danger, but you never know. So I got it at the kind of the 60 here with Tony Finau, and even he, I don't think is in too much of danger of missing out, considering he is almost 100 points, more like almost 90 points ahead of the cut with Matty Schmid. So Finau, Ricky, Davis Riley, Kevin Yu, EVR, Nico Echeverria, Grillo, Cam Davis, Rogers, Ben On, and Matty Schmid. Those are the 10 just on the right side of the cut. And then the next 10 or so, 10 to 12, who are needing a really good performance to secure their top 70. Like Nikolai Højgaard is 5 points behind right now, so he needs to make the cut, and one of these, probably Ben On or Matty Schmid, to miss the cut, and he would probably secure his top 70. Keith Mitchell's also right there. Chris Kirk's a little bit further behind. Seabez, Gary Woodland, Kevin Roy, Alex Smalley, Thompson, Eric Cullen, William Mao, who's been on a charge the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. So these 10 here realistically have a decent chance. Maybe even Ryo Hitsatsune, who's sitting 93, 94 points behind Matty Schmid. So, Ryo Hitsatsune would probably need something to like the effect of a top 15, and maybe a little bit of help, but a top 15 would go a long way. You start getting into players like Højgaard and Carl Phillips, Matt McCarty, you're needing, close to top 5s or wins for those players. So it's going to be difficult. Going to be difficult to do that. Interesting to see Xander down here, although he is exempt due to his major championship wins last year. But even so, with the extended time off, he's still inside the top 80, which just speaks to how truly, really good Xander is. He just gets overshadowed by Scotty. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So again, there's your bubble. 10, 12 players or so that are sitting on the bubble. Good evening, Darnell. Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Good to see you this evening. Hopefully you're ready for the Wyndham. We're going to try and get you back on the right track. I know you had a little bit of a rough week last week. I don't think it was awful by any means, but we're going to try and get you back on the winning ways for the final PGA Tour regular season event for the Wyndham. So again, there's a look at your bubble. Hey, good evening, P. Let me get through that. I have my lineup set. Yeah, I finished my multitude of lineups not too long ago. No changes. Okay, well, we'll see if you and I agree. But keep these names in mind, particularly probably down to about Ryo Hitsatsune, maybe Rasmus Højgaard. Those players, Like Hitsatsune probably needs like a top 15 or better, and then upwards of Nikolai Højgaard just kind of needing to make the cut. But keep these players in mind if you want to have that narrative in your mind moving forward tonight, like who needs to play well to get into the playoffs and whatnot. I'll actually keep that open. We're going to go to Fantasy National. Once again, I meant to unstar these players and didn't, so bear with me as I do that. Need to catch up on chat as well. Good evening, P. Thanks for jumping in the chat. Very much appreciated. Hopefully you've had a very good week. Hopefully you had a good 3M. I didn't see you much during the week this week, but hopefully you had a successful 3M. If not, we're going to try and get you back on the right foot. I've been fortunate. I've hit 2 outright winners in a row, so we're going to try and keep the momentum going. The rails will fall off here eventually. It's just the nature of the business. I'm going to try and delay that as much as possible. But it's good to see you in chat, P. Thanks again for showing up this evening. I'm going to take a single entry for me. You know how it is. Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I am fortunate that I can play multiple lineups. I'm in a position I can play multiple lineups, therefore give myself more coverage. But you know, if things were different, yeah, I would play, you know, a single entry or whatnot. How do you feel about Kitayama this week? We'll get into it. We'll definitely get into it. In fact, rambling on about the weather and the FedEx Cup standings for a little bit. Let's just go to the mixed condition model for this week. Considering, if anything, I would look at easy and I would look at short and I would look at Don Ross, and we kind of did all of that this week except for easy. But seeing that the wind is supposed to stay relatively calm, I would probably lean towards easy. But let's just go ahead and jump into the mixed condition model for the Wyndham Championship and Sedgefield that I made for this week. We're going to start with 5% off the tee. And I spent all week talking about how Sedgefield really promotes fairways and stuff. And you can see that right here. Off the tee more so favors length. So I wanted to make sure, or I wanted to see if a particular player was long and accurate. I wanted to reward them enough, considering you can hit driver on a few of these holes. It's generally not, or that's generally not what's happening, considering there are club downs and dog legs and whatnot. But if a player does decide to try to cut corners, hit driver, if they're really, really good off the tee, a la Rory or somebody like that, I wanted to reward that player. So 5% off the tee. Matsuyama week incoming. Hey, good evening, Joanne. Thanks for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. Hopefully you've been well and had a lot of success. I have been very successful the past month, so I'm going to try to keep it going. Although you and I are probably going to be a lot different this week, based on your mention there. 5% off the tee, but guys, this is a Don Ross design. It's Sedgefield. It's positional. You're going to have to play. You're going to have to hit your irons well. It's just simple as that. I might be a little bit too heavy in the iron play, but I just really, really wanted to emphasize this aspect of a player's game. So that's why you'll see a couple of players sneak into the top 10 where you'll give a quizzical and puzzled look. And believe me, I'm doing the same whenever those players rise in the top 10. It's just because their irons have been good lately, combined with the fact, like, you know, they give themselves opportunities. Joel Damon. But they just, you know, the rest of their game doesn't match up. So just be aware of that. I am quite heavy in the approach this week, 20%. Really want that emphasized with Don Ross greens. Again, the extreme example is last year's U.S. Open at Pinehurst. They are domed or dome-shaped. They have runoffs. They're sloped. They play large. They're 6,000 or maybe 6,500 square feet. But But even though they might be easy to hit, you have to hit the right quadrant on Don Ross greens. And 2 putts are not a given if you're not in the right quadrant of the green. So I really wanted to emphasize strong iron play. 5% putting on fast Bermuda greens. I don't think putting is going to be a huge factor this week. With that said, putting especially for our winners, right up there with approach. I didn't want to ignore it, so I'm wanted to see not necessarily who's in form lately with the putter, because I went back and checked some of the previous champions, and some of them were hideous in terms of in-form putting. So I wanted to see if there's any specialists, particularly fast Bermuda specialists. So only 5% there. I mentioned it in the off the tee. I'll go over it again. 15% fairways. I've said it multiple times this week. I'll say it again. Kevin Kisner's saying we're all trying to hit it to the same spot. It's just who can execute the best. A lot of times you don't hit driver off a lot of tees here. So I wanted to see who plays or who hits their fairways and who's been in form with their fairways. That was one of the criteria that I put forward over on social media earlier this week. In form fairways. Adam Scott looks good. He rated out well. I don't remember seeing you that week, but I was very high on Adam Scott at the Open, as a couple of us in chat were, and he decided to implode by shooting 11 billion on Friday. So I'm a little stung with that. He did rate out well. He's played well here. I don't know how to feel about Adam Scott. I do like Adam Scott more than your first mention, though. So 15% fairways. Damon good with the irons. Yeah, he is electric with the irons and quite shut off. I mean, the power isn't even there in terms of putting and other things like that. 10% opportunities. Look, most of the time this course plays average, but it's not difficult. Guys are going to have to go low. Winning score generally right around 20 under. Guys are going to have to give themselves a lot of opportunities, especially on these Don Ross greens where you have to hit right quadrants. I wanted to see who is selectively aggressive, if that makes sense. So 10% opportunities gained. I did use the filter short courses, considering that's probably going to highlight wedges and stuff that Sedgefield generally uses. Birdies are better, 10%. It's not enough to give yourself opportunities, Joel Damon. You have to convert them. So there's a little bit of putting in this as well. 10% birdies are better on short courses. 5% total procs. I went with total procs because of the statistics behind it. We looked at this Monday night and how even though the majority of your approach shots around Sedgefield come from 150 to 175, like an extreme portion comes from 150 to 175, a disproportionate amount of your approach shots come from that length. Statistically, it didn't line up. The players who were performing best at Sedgefield weren't necessarily doing all that well from that range, but they were doing very well on total procs. So this is a little bit of my angle this week or whatnot. I'm going with 5% on total procs. A lot of the reasoning again behind these Don Ross greens and whatnot, opportunities and iron play. I just wanted to see, generally speaking, who's been the best at getting the ball closest to the hole lately. Perez top 10 this week. Now that's the first name that you and I have agreed on quite a bit. I was very high on Victor Perez or Paris last week, and he played well. He played okay, and I like him again this week, Joanne. We're going to finish the mixed condition model off. Pretty basic. This is a par 70. There are 12 par 4s around Sedgefield. So a heavy emphasis in par 4s. 10% in total par 4s. 10% in just this length because 75% of the par 4s fall to this length. So I wanted to see over the course of the year who has consistently been the best at these lengths of par fours. So quite a lot of emphasis in par fours here, 20% if you include this and this together. But 10% in all par fours. 5% in these short par fives. Bud Cauley over Perez. I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Darnell. Par fives, 500, 550. Both par fives fall into this range. I don't want to overemphasize it because there's only 2 of them, but you're going to have to score on them to contend at Sedgefield. And then lastly, these are Don Ross greens. They are tricky. You got to be able to putt well. Lag putting is a skill. I don't factor this in often in my mixed condition models, but when you are dealing with tricky greens or undulating greens, multi-tiered and faceted greens, 3-putt avoidance becomes a key. And so I wanted to see who avoids 3 putts the best. Sure, Darnell, I'll do Perez or Paris over Cauley straight up. We've had so many of these friendly wagers that I think it's fair to say that if I was ahead, it wasn't by much, so we'll call it even at right now. I know I'm up 1 on Rosé at the moment, based on a Matt Fitzpatrick bet from earlier in the year. So at some point I'm going to write this down or put it in the computer, but I might start that actually for 2026. I need to make a note of that. But anyway, there's a look at the mixed condition model that I've made for Sedgefield in the Wyndham Championship. Some areas where I am going to be weak. If length for whatever reason matters, I don't think it does. It has only mattered 1 time in the past 5 years. I don't see it mattering, but if it does, I'll be weak. If par 3s matter, I don't have any par 3s. If that specific length of proximity matters, 150 to 175, I'll be weak because I don't have anything separated out just for the players who are performing well with those sets of clubs. Whatever irons or wedges that they're using, I'm just doing total procs. Those are the areas where I'll be weak if they are more enhanced than what I think it's going to. Otherwise, I just think this is the way Sedgefield is going to play this week. So with that, enough rambling. Let's get to my rankings for Sedgefield and the Wyndham Championship this week. As a reminder for returning viewers, for your information if you're a new viewer, my rankings are based on 3 criteria. Fantasy National Rank is a straight numerical ranking based on the mixed condition model that we just went over, metrics, percentages. Fantasy National will spit out a numerical ranking. Course value is an attempt at giving a player a numerical value at how well they have played that course the past 5 years. I only go back 5 years. So somebody like Webb Simpson, all of his success, in the early mid 2000 teens isn't in here. I only go back 5 years. So somebody like Ben Griffin's going to have a decent course value. Somebody like Harry Hall does not. Akshay Bhatia does not, etc., etc. And the last criteria in terms of my rankings, we are playing DFS. We're trying to find unique options off of our fellow contestants. So projected ownerships, and these are from Gabe. Gabe has done very, very well in terms of trying to project ownership with a lot of his mathematics and whatnot. So projected ownerships are a part of my rankings. Good evening, Rosé. Thanks for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. Hopefully you are ready for the Wyndham. We're going to try and keep the momentum here that I've had for the past month. You've been here for both of the wins, the Gerard win at the Barracuda, and then of course last week the 3M. So we're going to try and prevent the rails from coming off, as I've joked about now for a week or so. It'll happen eventually. It always does, but we're going to try and delay that as much as possible. Good to see you in chat. Very, very much appreciated. Koivu definitely good, but won't be sneaky. We'll see when we go through the price board what some of these ownerships are. But my top 10, mathematically at least, per these criteria, go as such. Aaron Rai, defending champion Aaron Rai, is my number 1 player. He's second by the numbers. decent course value considering he's the defending champion, but he had struggled in the 2 years prior, so be aware of that. Akshay Bhatia is number 2. You see that he was technically first by Fantasy Nationals ranking, but he is getting hurt by the fact that he is 0 for 4 in terms of making the cut at Sedgefield. He has not made a cut in 4 tries. Aaron Ride donkey play this week? We'll see. I don't know. I'm just saying mathematically and numerically he came up to be number 1 because he was number 2 numbers wise and a decent course value. Keegan 3rd, Ben Griffin 4th, and Lee Hodges round out my top 5. 6,900 Lee Hodges, again rising considering he is very, very unique, but the model really likes him because of all of the emphasis in the approach. So take this with a little bit of grain of salt. I was really high on Lee Hodges last week as well. He flamed out, but there is a lot going for Lee Hodges still, despite the fact that he missed the cut last week. To round out the top 10, Nico Echeverria, Seabez, Keith Mitchell, and we don't have much putting in here, so Keith Mitchell is actually going to rise. And just so you all realize, he's actually rated decent on Fast Bermuda. I don't know. Take it up with Fantasy National. He's hadn't been terrible on Fast Bermuda, although I wouldn't put Keith Mitchell 8th. Again, all the emphasis in the irons and opportunities here. Kevin Roy 9th, Joel Damon 10th. I was, subtly, or maybe not so subtly, mentioning he's going to rise because of all the emphasis in opportunities gained. He's hitting fairways like Joel Damon does. He's number 1 in total procs. I would not put a 6,400 Joel Damon 10th in my rankings. He's just rising considerably because of the way the mixed condition model came out. He was horrid on Sunday last week, Akshay, but he's from North Carolina. If you're talking Keith Mitchell, Mitchell has to, I think, win or solo second to get into the playoffs. So, I mean, everyone's got an amount of pressure, but he has done himself no favors with how poorly he has played this year. And then Joanne, only because you mentioned him earlier, you see I am very, very high on a particular player that you mentioned earlier. There's a look at my top 10. Again, some surprises here, but you have to understand why they're rising. Like Joel Damon, Keith Mitchell. I don't have putting in my mixed condition model, so they're going to rise with all the emphasis in the irons, the opportunities gained, proximity. I would not consider them top 10 in this field. Who's my Kitayama this week? We'll get into it. Don't worry. We'll get into it. All right. Enough of that. Let's sort on the price board, figure out where our fellow contestants are going, at least where Gabe is projecting our fellow contestants to be going, and where we can maneuver around them. In the 5 digits, in the 10Ks, we have 3 players. We have Matt Fitzpatrick at 10-6, Keegan at 10-3, Ben Griffin at 10-1. This hurts me a lot to say this, considering how well he's played lately and how much money I have won lately using Matt Fitzpatrick. I am pretty low on Fitzpatrick this week. Having said that, I am still going to play him once or twice. Understand, I play multiple, many lineups. Darnell and I have went over this several times. If I were playing one single entry lineup, I wouldn't play Fitzpatrick. I'm only saying I'm playing him because I am afforded the luxury of playing many lineups. But I am pretty low on Fitzpatrick this week. He has not played here in the last 5 years. The last time he played Sedgefield was 2018, so it's not in my data sample. I mean, he made the cut. It was like a 36th or something. Wasn't great. This just doesn't feel like a good Matt Fitzpatrick course. And as somebody who has backed Matt Fitzpatrick for a long time, this just doesn't feel like a good spot for him. He's not great on Bermuda. He's not the best 3-putt avoider. If you're playing all the lineups possible, don't play Fitzpatrick. I'm not playing much of him. I'll tell you that. I am using somebody in the 10Ks, but it's not Fitz. At least I'm using a lot of somebody in the 10Ks, but it's not Fitz. That ownership is gross. I mean, really, because the pricing is so soft, everybody can use whatever 10K play they like. There's no Scotty in this field at 13 or 14,000. The pricing is really, really soft. So you can put, I'm going to be honest, you can play 2 of the 3 10Ks and not go into the 6s. Now, having said that, that means there's a lot in the 7s, and particularly the low 7s that I like, which of course we'll get to. But with this soft pricing, our fellow contestants are afforded the ability to use whoever they want. And no matter what you think of him, you can't argue the form that he's in, Darnell. Fitz has been fantastic the past month or so. But I don't think this is a good spot for him. Like Bobby Mack this week, we'll get into. I'll get into Bobby Mack here soon. Bobby Mack scares me, but not in the way you think. So I like where your line of thinking is there, Joanne. So yeah, in the 10Ks, it pains me to say it. I'm not going to use much Fitzpatrick. Keegan's fine, but he generally doesn't perform well on Bermuda. I try and focus on Keegan on bent. That's generally when he's at his best. Now, Ryder Cup narrative, player captain, all this stuff aside, it's fine. This ownership I just don't like. If it was a little bit lower, I might be inclined to go to Keegan. It's fine. I'm using him some amount. I'm probably going to be a little bit less than 20%, so technically I'll be underweight on Keegan. It's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it. In the 10Ks, I'm all about some Ben Griffin. I love Ben Griffin this week. 3 events, or 3 starts at Sedgefield. He's got a 4th, a T4, and a T7. He's a North Carolina native. You want to talk about Keegan and having a lot of care about the Travelers? This is another home game and big event for another player. Ben Griffin. North Carolina native, grew up in Chapel Hill, went to North Carolina. He's from the area. This is, I don't want to put words in his mouth, et cetera, but this is like his 5th major. Much like Keegan considers the Travelers his 5th major, this is probably Ben Griffin's 5th major. He loves this tournament. He loves this area. So I'm playing all of the Ben Griffin I can handle. 7th in irons, 7th in opportunities. Yeah, he's missed the cut in 2 straight, but I want to show you his form before that. The miscut at the John Deere was a complete fluke. Complete fluke. Lost 4 on the greens, and it wasn't even that bad. He went, actually, let me do this a little smarter way. Ben Griffin at the John Deere double bogeyed and bogeyed his last 2 holes. So we went +3 on the final 2 holes to miss the cut. Look, he gained strokes that second round. He just had a brain fart on the final 2 holes putting, or else he makes that cut. And then I'll forgive him for missing the cut at the Open. Like, a missed cut at a major is nothing to be ashamed about. Before that, he was probably one of the best players on the PGA Tour statistically. And even so, he was still gaining strokes ball striking at the John Deere despite missing the cut. Putting looking suspect, is it? It's one tournament. It was 2 rounds at the John Deere where he didn't putt well. John Deere is also bent. Oh, shoot. That's not what I meant. I want to just scroll up. John Deere is also bent. We're on Bermuda, where he generally gains a bunch on Bermuda because he's from the South. Putting's not... I disagree with that assessment, Darnell. The putting isn't looking suspect. Now, whatever he did at the Open, Fantasy National doesn't Doesn't have those. So if you get stats from another place and that has strokes gained, fair. I just don't. I just go with Fantasy National. But beforehand, he was electric in all facets of the game. 6 straight top 15s dating back to the PGA. PGA is also, no, that's not. It's Benton Poa annua. So I don't know. I'm a big believer in Ben Griffin this week. It's supposed to be calm. We're on Bermuda. Give me all the Ben Griffin, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But give me all the Ben Griffin I can handle this week. I am going to be so extremely overweight on Ben Griffin. It's ridiculous. So I'm not scared off by his miscut at the John Deere. That was a complete total fluke, considering he was still gaining strokes, ball striking. It was 2 bad holes, really, of putting. And then I'm going to rely on the form beforehand. And fairways game, this number doesn't look great. You take driver out of his hand, he's pretty good. This is all based on like the driver. I don't think he'll be hitting driver much this week. And again, he's had a lot of success here. He's got a 4th and a 7th. Now the other one was a miscut, sure, but he's had a lot of success at Sedgefield. I'm going to be extremely overweight on Ben Griffin. You'll see Ben Griffin a lot tonight in terms of, betting card and picks challenge. This is the player in the 10Ks that I'm going to a lot. So in the 10Ks, number 1 for me, Keegan's fine. 2nd for me in the 10Ks, it's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just fine. Maybe I'd feel different if I wasn't so high on Ben Griffin, but because I'm so high on Ben Griffin, I can just afford to pass more often than not on Keegan. And then Fitzpatrick, I want to like it. It pains me to say it, considering he's won me a lot of money lately, but I just don't see this as a good spot for him. Moving to the 9s. This area is quite interesting, and you all have talked about a few players now. I'm going to try to speed this up because I know we want to make lineups and such. Hideki, Bobby Mack, Spieth, Rye, Hall, Nat, Batia. Well, Hideki, no thanks. Joanne, Hideki has played at Sedgefield 7 times. He has 3 top 15s. That's great. His other 4 are miscuts. So it's all or nothing for Hideki. And Hideki has been atrocious putting here. There was something about these greens that he just doesn't like. Even in the times he's made the cut, it hasn't been pretty. He's been more like field average. And if I'm taking that much of a chance, I need an elite in-form Hideki. Hideki has not been in form, particularly off the tee. Yes, his irons seem to be coming back. Top 20 at the Open is encouraging. Maybe he had a bunch of strokes here off the tee at the Open. Again, I don't know. I'm just going with this, where he's lost all but once, going all the way back to the Masters. That's why I don't like Hideki this week. He needs to be in form, both sets of ball striking, and he's just generally not putt well. I'll swivel out of the way. Like the last time he gained on these greens was way back in 2015. So I'm just not there, Joanne. Bermuda's his worst surface by far. I'm just not there with Hideki. He's always going to carry that withdrawal risk as well. 15%. Like, if he was 12 or even 10%, maybe you'd look at, or maybe I would consider him at least a little bit, considering he's a strong pivot in the area. But he's not even a pivot in the area, seemingly. Now, someone else you like, Bobby Mack. Bobby Mack scares me because I didn't play much of Bobby Mack, and he rates out extremely well. So I am scared that Bobby Mack's going to burn me this week. Bobby Mack got squeezed out of a lot of my lineups because I'm just going to Ben Griffin. So I do like your line of thinking there. I would have loved to have put Bobby Mack in more lineups, Joanne. I just couldn't fit him based on the lineups that I'm trying to get, and more so like in the lower nines here. So I like Bobby Mack. He just got squeezed for me. Par fours are great. 10th and par of this length of par fives. I do like Bobby Mack. No thanks on Spieth. It's whatever. I know his irons have been okay, but the rest of this looks pretty bad, and he hadn't been great at Sedgefield, at least in the last 5 years. You called Aaron Rai, well, I want to use the correct terminology. Aaron Rai donkey play. You and Gabe are very similar in lines of thinking. I'm going to play Aaron Rai, but I'm not 100% confident in it. The irons haven't been great lately. He's always known for being a fairway finder, so that's no surprise there. The putting isn't great, particularly on fast Bermuda. I can understand that line of thinking, especially with that ownership, Darnell. I'm still going to play Aaron Rai because everything lines up for him pretty well. He is the defending champion. I don't think that was a fluke last year. He was in much better form coming into the Wyndham last year. So he's not in nearly as good a form. But I'm still going to play a decent bit of Aaron Rai. And if it costs me, it costs me. But number one in my rankings, number two just by the numbers. He's been okay here. The ownership isn't astronomically high. It's not 25% like we're seeing on the 10Ks. So it's fine. It's a lot like Keegan. It's fine. I'll play more Rai than Keegan. But in the lower nines, I like Harry Hall, despite the fact that he's been literally atrocious at Sedgefield. I really like Harry Hall. Hard to ignore his form. He's always a birdie getter. He has to avoid the bogeys, but he's always a birdie getter. Excellent on these par fours as well. 3-putt avoider. Like, he's an excellent lag putter and putter in general. I do like Harry Hall this week, but I'm actually going to Batia a lot. Really like Batia. And I know he burned you, particularly Darnell, last week, but I mean, you got to admit, he had the 54-hole Cole lead. That you don't get that by accident. I mean, he's still playing really well. He had a bad Sunday. If that happens Thursday, if his round Sunday happens Thursday, and then he plays the next 3 rounds the way he did, we'd be talking about somebody who's on the rise. That's just the way these things work. It's all about the perception. I'm a little worried about some of this stuff here with Jake Knapp. But if you like Jake Knapp over Batia, I can understand it, considering they're roughly about the same percentage. Moving to the 8s, we're going to try to speed this along. I'm going to be honest with you, the 8s just kind of got squeezed out entirely for me. I want to like Lucas Glover. You want to talk about some hideous ownership? This is hideous ownership. Glover has not been good around Sedgefield other than his win. He won, but you say that, Joanne, like I was just talking about, he's actually not been very good around here other than his win. 2023's Wyndham, for whatever reason, isn't in here. Take a look at his form lately besides the win. Miscut. T54. Nothing to brag about. Miscut. 72nd. And look, it's all about this right there. He is horrible putting around here. The exception is the win in 2023, which for whatever reason isn't in Fantasy National. I do have those stats. So yes, Joanne, everyone thinks that he should be pretty good here. The results are actually pretty bad. I played him once. I played Lucas Glover once just to say I had him, but I was not excited, and it made it a real easy fade seeing all this ownership here. Kitayama, interesting. Coming off the win last week, I think there's just potential for letdown. You talked about Adam Scott. he's played fairly well around here at Sedgefield. Obviously, good putter, good off the tee, especially lately. I can't hate it, Joanne. I can't, considering he made the cut at the 3M, but it was kind of okay. It's fine, especially if you're trying to get off the Glover chalk. That's fine, but I just can't. I can't get excited about an Adam Scott when I was so all in on him at the Open, and it just blew up spectacularly. Instead, I'm going to go to Gerard again. What's wrong with Ryan Gerard? Winner at the Barracuda. He's been in good form. Top 15 in irons. Do you play the 50 cent max? I used to. I've went up in something. I've went up in pricing. So I like Gerard. I do. I like Gerard here. Another North Carolina native. Be on the lookout for Gerard. He does have a tendency to struggle putting, but he's been really good on Bermuda. Again, one of these, Southern native players. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Why is my stream lagging? I'm going to tell you, be honest with you, my internet, my ISP has been really bad this week. So hopefully it's not too bad. But it seems like this might be some of the most crowd I've had in a while. That also could be it as well. But I really appreciate you jumping into chat. Very much appreciated, Pay. It's good to see you. Hopefully you're ready for the Wyndham. And apologies for the lag. Everything on my end seems like it's okay now. I know people were talking about lag earlier, but everything on the back side here seems like it's fine. Clanton could be interesting. Hey, Derek, good evening. Thanks for jumping to chat. What are your thoughts on Buccauley? It's my big question. We'll get to it. We haven't got to the sevens yet. We'll get there. Clanton could be interesting as well. Number one in opportunities. Number one in birdies. Birdies are better on short courses. Irons are good. Finished top 5 here last year. I'm just waiting for him to put it all together. So I made sure to put Clanton in a lineup. I'm not excited about it, but at 7%, or at least projected 7%, I have to imagine Clanton's closer to 10%. But if he is truly 7%, you might want to think about some Luke Clanton. And then I'll just casually mention Sam Stevens, considering how well he's played lately. But only the most casual of mentions. Moving to the upper sevens. Don't like a lot here in the upper sevens. I really don't. I know some people have talked about Cam Young. This guy's just never going to rate out well for me, considering the lack of iron play. His proximity's bad. He's been really bad on par 4s. Just can't get there with Cam Young. Poston's a former champion here, but he's not in form, so no thanks. Matt Wallace played very, very well last week, but again, he's more of a short game player. Now, he has been good on these par 4s, but that's about it. So there's not a lot up here in the upper sevens that I like. Maybe a casual mention of Davis Thompson. In the mid sevens, you asked me earlier, John, who my Kurt Kitayama of this week is. It's not a direct comparison because Kitayama was a slight. I wouldn't say the favorite, but I mean he was highly priced last week at the 3M. He was a short to medium price. He was like 35 to 1. So it's not going to be an apples to apples comparison, but two names. There's 1A and 1B. Thanks, Pay. 1A and 1B. Grillo is first. Love everything about Grillo. Harris English got, I don't understand in the world why Harris English was 6,700 at the Open. This is just downright disrespectful to Emiliano Grillo. In the lack of talented field that this is, that he is 7,500 considering his form. This is just outright disrespect on Emiliano Grillo. He's been excellent lately. Excellent. Top 20. Runner-up. Sure, the Rocket Mortgage is whatever. Top 20 the U.S. Open. Top 20, Charles Schwab. Top 25, the Canadian. He had one bad iron week at the Rocket Classic. Otherwise, he's been excellent lately. He's never been a great putter. His putter is actually kind of streaky right now. You hope that he doesn't lose 4 like he did at the Canadian. But even so, he's been streaky with the putter. I don't understand why Emiliano Grillo in this field is 7,500. That is asinine to me. I'm going to play metric F-tons of Emiliano Grillo this week. 4th in irons. 3rd in fairways. Top 25 in birdies or better on this or in this field. And despite him being a pretty poor putter, 3rd in 3-putt avoidance this year. He's at least lag putting well at the moment. I love Emiliano Grillo this week. Yeah, he's 10%, sure. Don't care. He is a little bit chalky for this price range. Don't care. Love Emiliano Grillo. So that's 1A. That's the first of the 2 players for your question, John, who was my Kitayama. The other one's a little bit lower in the 7s. A couple people have asked about Bud Colley. It's fine. I don't hate it. I'm so in love with Grillo that Bud Colley I kind of just looked over, but it's fine. He's certainly more unique. He's still in form with the irons, hitting fairways. It's fine. It's not who I'm going to in the mid-7s, but I definitely used him once or twice. I'm just in love with Grillo this week, but it's fine. I don't hate it, Derek. I think somebody else asked about Colley. Oh, it was you, Darnell. You said Bud Colley over Victor Paris. I'll still take that bet, even though they're not terribly comparable in pricing, mid-7s versus 68 or 6,900. But I'll still take that bet, Darnell. You asked about Jackson Koivu. He didn't rate out well for me. I think it was you, Joanne, that said, yeah, sneaky play Koivu top 10. His irons haven't been good. Having said that, I believe these are a lot of premier events, so I'll give him a little bit of a pass there. Kid's talented. I'm not taking anything away from him, but just analytically, he hadn't done much. So I'm just gonna pass on Jackson Koivu for the moment. Finau needs to play well. I don't see it happening, considering he's just kind of fallen off. Really, he's kind of fallen off. I believe it was you, John, or somebody mentioned Jesper. Want to make sure I get this right. I believe somebody said Jesper. May have missed you talking about it. Is this course more recent form bias or past results? No, not at all. Not at all. Lucas Glover is the perfect example of it. You want to see that, or in fact, check out Monday night's show. Towards the end of the show, where I go through like the winter matrix and winter form and all that stuff, you'll see that this course really doesn't highlight past results very well. Somebody asked about Svensson. He's played pretty well. This doesn't feel like a good Jesper Svensson fit because his big weapon is his driver. Birdies are better, sure, but that's because he's long. Driver's taken out a lot of players' hands here. So I don't like the fit for Jesper despite how good how well he's played lately. Now we'll move into the low 7s, and this is where I think things get really, really good. The second of the 2 players that I think could be the Kurt Kitayama this week, first name I bet this week, Nico Echeverria. Look at these stats across here. 3rd in birdies or better on short courses. Top 15 opportunities. Top 20 fairways. The guy is playing really, really well right now. He's not getting near enough attention that he should. Love Nico Echeverria this week. Let me scroll to him and get his page up here. Nico Echeverria. Missed the cut at the Open, sure. Just like with Ben Griffin. I'll forgive a missed cut at a major. It's a major. Top 25 the Scottish Open, by the way. A very, very strong field. One of the big reasons why I'm huge on Nico, Rocket Mortgage. You know what the similarity between Detroit and Sedgefield is? It's a Don Ross design. It's the only Don Ross design they've seen lately. And when we went back and checked Monday night at the former champions of the Wyndham Championship at Sedgefield, since 2019, all but one of them played really well at the Rocket Classic or Rocket Mortgage also that year. I'm talking like top 15 because it's a Don Ross design. Don Ross designs play similarly. And the one player who didn't fit that criteria didn't play the Rocket Classic, so there was nothing to compare. Every other champion who played the Rocket Classic top 15, every other champion of the Wyndham Championship played the Rocket Classic and top 15 did that year. Love Nico this year. Yes, his irons are streaky as hell. He could go out and hit the ball into the next county. That's fine. I want the potential of this. Gaining 5.5 with the irons. The putter has actually been really good lately. Like really, really good lately. I love Nico Edgeworth. Look, his best surface by far is Bermuda. By far is Bermuda. He's also the best by far when it's easy. Sedgefield is more average than easy, but it's on the easier side of that. I like everything about Nico Echevarria, and he is half the ownership of Christian Bezuidenhout. Half. If Nico Echevarria does not play well this week, I will lose. But I have got metric F tons of Echevarria and of Grillo this week. Watched John Daly's kid and Kuchar's play a Don Ross yesterday. Kuchar's kid played terrible in Illinois. There's some kind of amateur tournament where Charlie Woods is playing really well too, isn't he? I know some of my friends were talking about that. Sorry, catching up here. Does that mean it's more random like the U.S. Open? So last year's results and there were a bunch of short hitters and less popular people. I wouldn't say it's random. Like the 3M can be random. It can be volatile because of all the water. I don't think this is more random. I think this takes away a lot of what the modern PGA game is, which is bomb, driver, long, generally straight. But Sedgefield's an old style course. It really is. Much like Oakmont. Everyone thought distance was going to be the big factor at Oakmont, and I tried to caution people on that. Like, Oakmont's really not all that long. This is just an old style course. That's why you see players like Lucas Glover, like Aaron Rye, like JT Poston win here because you don't have to be long. Rio's course is 6. Yeah, he finished 3rd here in the 1 year he did it. I think last year, maybe the year before, he finished tied for 3rd. So he has exceptional course value because it's only one time. But you're right, he did play here well in his 1 year. But yeah, Nico. Love everything about Nico this week. He's the second of the 2 players, John, that you mentioned or that you asked about being the possible Kitayama. This was the first wager I put in at triple digits. Like Grillo, I felt was disrespected on his price. Echevarria, I was happy to see the number, don't get me wrong, but that was disrespect on Nico. Seabez is getting a whole lot of attention, rightfully so. He's very chalky. Understand that if you're going to play with Bezuidenhout, you're not as chalky or you're not as unique as you're going to get or you think. But I like Christian Bezuidenhout. I'm going to play Seabez. He fits here. Shorter hitter, very good wedges, good putter. I like Seabez. This is mostly college. Western AM is the Target Field one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you've mentioned that before, P. I'm not as in tune, or maybe I'm not the diehard golf fan that some people are. Particularly some of my friends who have had this text chain of what Charlie's done, seemingly hole by hole, and I'm just like, hey, leave me alone. Do I like Roy? It's okay. I know he rated 9th for me. Let me get through some of these other lower 7s here real quick. If you're not a big believer in Nico, if you don't like the streaky irons, take a look at Chris Kirk at the same price. 9% ownership. 15th in irons. Top 15 in opportunities. Chris Kirk, what's wrong with Chris Kirk at 7,200? I really like Chris Kirk as well this week. So these two, actually really all three of these I'm playing a lot. I mean a lot of. But if you're wary of the chalk of Seabass, take a strong look at these two players. I really, really like these two players a lot this week. Somebody else I want to mention, Austin Eckroat. Team No Putt. But another one of these Southern guys that putts Bermuda better than his baseline. Take a long look at Austin Eckroat too. I really like Echeverria. I really like Chris Kirk. So I'm not going to Eckroat as much. But I still use Eckroat a decent amount. Top 20 in irons. Top 15 in opportunities. Top 20 in birdies or better. I like Eckroat a lot. His problem is he needs to three putt, or he needs to avoid his three putts better. He's not known for being a good putter. So that's what's hurting him. But I do like Eckroat. A couple of these players that you asked about in the sevens. Kevin Roy rates out very, very well. I've been high on Kevin Roy the past 2 or 3 weeks, and he's disappointed. I think he's reached his peak. I don't think we'll see him win when he was a favorite at some of these alternate field events. Number 1 in par 4s total. Really good on the short par 4s. The irons are fine. It's fine. There's a lot of fatigue here from me personally on Kevin Roy. John, that's why I'm not terribly excited about it. I can understand the love for it. I really can. I would also caution he's not the best on Bermuda. Kirk needs to play good to make the playoffs. Yeah, several people do. But yes, he is, I think, 74th? 75th? Something around there. I don't hate it. I don't hate Kevin Roy at 7K, John. Take a look at Matt Kuchar. Matt Kuchar, one of these players just like Webb Simpson, who's got good course value. These shorter hitters, like you were mentioning, Derek, keep it in front of them. Generally know how to play the course. I'm going to save the last 7K play, or 7,000 play, or 7,000 player, because he's my mad scientist for the week. So I'll save that. Moving down to the sixes. If you are coming down to the sixes, and I'm not very often, I do want to give you a couple of names. I'll casually mention Lee Hodges just because, yes, he disappointed last week, but he's still in form. The irons are still there. He's still the number 1 player on these short par 5s. Still good with the proximity. Casually mention him. But Joanne kind of took the thunder from me. And it's a great shout by you, Joanne, so I'm not upset. I love Victor Perry this week. Top 15 in irons. Top 5 in par 4s. I mean, Victor Perry, if we go to his page, just very, very quickly. I'm trying to get through this, but you all have asked a lot of great questions about a lot of great players, so I don't mind. Victor Perry has been excellent lately. Top 30 the 3M. Irons have been solid. When I say excellent lately, I understand that the results might not be there. Just take a look at the analytics. Look at the numbers. The irons have been scorching hot lately. The putter is streaky. But you can accept that if the irons are hot. I don't think his off the tee is going to hurt him that much this week. It could. I don't think it's going to hurt him that much. His best surface, by far, Bermuda. Well, maybe not by far, but Bermuda. I like a lot of Victor Perry this week. I am not in the sixes all that much. If I were, I would go to Victor Perry. Lee Hodges is a casual mention as well. The last one, and I know this is going to make Gabe happy because this is his kind of pet player in the sixes. Carson Young could be kind of interesting as well. Fairway finding, gives himself a lot of opportunities. He needs to convert them, sure. Top 15 in total procs. I do want to give a slight mention to Carson Young if you are needing a lot of price savings. I wouldn't do it a lot. Again, I used Carson Young once, but I did use him. I think it's worth a mention. So there's a look at the price board. Putnam 7,100. Putnam makes a lot of sense at this course. Fairway finder, but he hadn't been great lately. He just hasn't. A lot of people liked him last week at the 3M, and he really disappointed. I used him once. Like, again, the off the tee game probably isn't going to hurt you much here, considering he top 10 the Rocket Mortgage. So if I was really, really high on Nico Echeverria, I need to back Andrew Putnam, or at least shout out Andrew Putnam in the same way. My issue is Nico was really good with the irons. Putnam's doing it more with the around the green. That's where I think there's some slight differences between the two players. Like Putnam's always going to be a fairway finder, so his off the tee is going to be lacking compared to others because he just lacks a lot of distance. You also can't expect him to gain 9.5 on the greens every week, or 5. Like if we take a look at, wrong thing. If we take a look at his Wyndham performance, like it's been hit and miss, but he hasn't gone nuclear on these greens. His irons have been shaky around here. I understand the thought process behind it, I really do. Not where I went, considering for 100 more, there were 3 players that I just went berserk with in my lineups. So, and then Eckroat at his same price, I liked a lot more as well. Okay, there's a look at the price board. I've been running over on time already. I do want to make some lineups, so feel free. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. If I don't get to it, I apologize. I do try to keep the show at an hour. We're already over on that, so I don't want to turn away any really pressing questions. But if I don't get to yours, I apologize, but don't hesitate to ask. Let's start making some lineups, particularly some what looks like some chalky lineups, so we know how we need to maneuver around it. I'm only using Matt Fitzpatrick because he is the most projected owned player. Choose who you think is the most projected owned player, who you think is going to be most owned. It could be any one of these 3. I'm using Fitzpatrick here. Then clearly they're coming down to Aaron Rye at 20.5%. They're bottoming out at Seabez. There. And this leaves them probably like a mid to low 8 and a couple of 7s. Not a whole lot. Maybe Griot. McCarthy's getting some love, who generally I kind of like, but I'm not there this week. This could be Griot, if I knew how to spell his name. And then 7,300. Again, there's no one down here getting a whole lot of love besides Seabez. So 73, I mean, take your pick. Maybe it's Novak. Maybe it's Hoey. If they come down off of, I don't want to come off of Rye because he is clearly the second in this lineup here. Again, just choose who you think it is. This is going to lower the total projection because of this one player, but this is the shell of a very, very, very popular lineup this week. Maybe it's not Fitz, maybe it's Ben Griffin, maybe it's Keegan, but these players are getting a whole lot of ownership at their price points. So how are we going to maneuver around that? The first way is to go balanced. I haven't been doing it a lot, but you can do it. You can start with like Bobby Mack. Just skip the 10s entirely. Like for you, Joanne, like you like Bobby Mack this week. I like Bobby Mack this week. He just got squeezed because I'm all about some Ben Griffin and the lower 9. So he just kind of got squeezed for me. But there's nothing wrong with a balanced lineup going like Bobby Mack. And then, for me, I would say choose which one of these 3 you would go to. Batia would be the pivot. Aaron Rye is the most chalky. So like the middle ground there would be Harry Hall. Maybe you're not afraid of Jake Knapp. I'll go Harry Hall. Just to split the difference there between Rye, who's very chalky, Batia, who's kind of streaky. I'll try to split the difference there with Harry Hall. Maybe you come down into the 8s for a player. You mentioned Adam Scott as well, Joanne. I am definitely not there. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. Maybe you look at Ryan Gerard at 84, Luke Clanton at 83. I'm going to go Gerard here. And we're setting up a decently, decently enough unique balanced lineup here. Maybe you get a little bit more greedy and try to squeeze in another 8 like a Sam Stevens. I don't know if you could do a Clanton unless you really like the low 7s a lot. But the reason why I haven't been building many of these lineups is that I just don't like much in the upper 7s at all. I just don't. Maybe JT Poston casually, but like instead, what if you went Luke Clanton or Calton, if I could? Yeah, and then 2 lower 7 guys. Again, 73. Novak's fine. Hoey, casual mention, but Nico, Chris Kirk, Austin Eckroat, Kevin Roy. Like, we'll combine a couple of lineups here. You asked about Kevin Roy, John. We can do that. Or Andrew Putnam, if you're that high on Andrew Putnam. I'm not, but maybe this could be Andrew Putnam. And then you finish it off with 7,500, who, for me, is absolutely Emiliano Grillo. Maybe it's, like, for Derek, it'd be Bud Cauley, since he asked about him. Like, this is the way a balanced lineup could be pretty darn unique, and I still think fairly successful, considering you're off of the chalkiest of plays, excuse me, in the 9s. You're avoiding all of the 10K, and then you're off of the chalk in CBAS in the mid-7s. So I do like this style of lineup if you wanted to go that route. I'm just not doing it all that often. The second way to go about it is to be real greedy. And I did mention a few 6K plays. I'll do Victor Paris, but you could go down as far as like Carson Young at 66. Lee Hodges is also at 69, but I'm going to do Victor Paris. If you're not scared to do a 6 and a low 7, like, again, Nico, Chris Kirk. Nothing wrong with Chris Kirk. Hey, Mike, thanks for jumping in chat. Very much appreciated. No worries that you're late. I'm just thankful and appreciate that you take the time out in your life to watch and to listen. So, again, very much appreciated. Thanks for jumping into chat. Hopefully you're ready for the Wyndham. And with this price savings that you have down here, you can get pretty darn greedy. Like, I would go Keegan and Ben Griffin. Maybe for you it's Keegan and Bobby Mack, or maybe it's Ben Griffin and Harry Hall and Akshay. Maybe you could squeeze in another 9 up here. Like, if we do an Akshay, that's pretty difficult to do. But, like, instead, maybe if you went Griffin, Bobby Mack, and Akshay, 7,200. Like Nico, Christian Bezadenhout, Austin Eckroat, who, my mad scientist play, who I'll reveal here momentarily. Like, you can do that. Like, it's easily done. But for me, I would go more so Keegan and Ben Griffin. Come down. Like, again, I'm going to use Grillo. I know he's popular for his area, but I'm just very, very high on him. And 8,000, Sung Jae, like Sam Stevens is fine. I'm not in love with it, but that's one way you can go about it, is to get, really greedy up top. I will count Bobby Mack as like the 4th 10, considering I'm not playing Hideki. I know he's more mid-9. I understand, but for me, I would get 2 of the big 3 or 2 of the big 4 in there. Keegan, Griffin, Bobby Mack. I'm using less and less of Matt Fitzpatrick, but that's one way you can go about it, is to get, that's the second way you can go about it. You can go ultra balanced. You can get pretty greedy in this field. Maybe you come off of Victor Paris. Maybe you come down to Carson Young, and then you can squeeze in that 8,300 Luke Clanton. So that's another way to do it. But the way I've been going about it most often is probably what I'll say, I'm hoping the style of lineup is unique, because I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. I am overloading the 7s, the low 7s. In one lineup, I'm going all of this. And Nico, have to type in his full name, and Grillo. Like, I've been doing all of these in one lineup and then doing whatever I want up here. I can go Fitzpatrick and Keegan, and it fits. Pardon the terrible pun. I didn't even mean for it to do that. Maybe it's Griffin and Keegan. Maybe I save a whole lot of money and go like Akshay. Like that's mainly the way I've just been overloading the low to mid sevens and leaving a lot of money on the table, banking on this style of lineup to be pretty unique, considering most people don't like leaving a lot of money on the table. Looks like you're hopping off of chat, Joanne. Really appreciate you jumping into the chat. It was good to see you again. Good luck this week. You'll have to let me know how you do either in the comments of the show or over on social media. Would love to be able to shout you out if you have a lot of success like I've had lately. So good luck this week. Very much appreciated. So these are the kind of lineups I've been tending to most often. My core for this week is Griffin. Rye is a little bit of my core. And I understand these all aren't going to fit in one lineup. I get that. I'm just showing you my core. Grillo, Kirk, Seabez, Nico, and to a little bit of a lesser extent, Austin Eckroat. I would say these two I'll highlight like a shade like pink or orange. They're at the bottom end of the core. Think more like 30 to 40% of my lineups. I'm telling you right now, Ben Griffin's in like 80% of my lineups. The rest of this, is a lot of my core. Nico's in like 60 to 70% of my lineups. Seabez is in 60 or so percent of my lineups. Chris Kirk's close to 50. This is my core this week. If these players do not play well, I will lose. But that is where my core is this week. All right. We've been going for a while. The 2025 Picks Challenge with Gabe. I have taken a commanding 5-point lead thanks to my selection of Ryan Gerard at the Barracuda, which was our wild card category from the Open Championship. So I have a 5-point lead. That can be made up very, very quickly. So I can't let up. For this week, my winner's Ben Griffin. I'm all in on the North Carolina, Bermuda inform ball striking. Give me all of the Ben Griffin. Gabe's going to go with Luke Clanton. I can't say that I saw that one coming, but he likes Luke Clanton to finally win very quickly on his PGA Tour pro career now that he's turned pro. My favorite play, Nico Echeverria. It was between him and Grillo, and you can see lower on your screen there what Grillo's category is. So I went with Nico Echeverria. Favorite play, love it. Gabe's going to go with Hideki. He kind of agrees with Joanne. I'm not there. He's always a withdrawal risk. I'm well too afraid of the off the tee game. He's never putt well here. Gabe and I are at odds because I'm fading Hideki. 15% projected ownership. Not there. Thoughts on Hostler? I didn't have any strong thoughts. If you tell me his price, I just saw him. Oh, well, just very, very quickly because I just found him. He almost rated DFL. He was like within 8 or 9 of being DFL P. Just not there. The only thing that's saving him, and I mean the only thing that's saving him, is the putter. But how is he going to get to the green for him to take advantage of the putter? So I'm not there at all. Having said that, now he's going to like top 10 and make me look like an ass. So, what are you going to do? Gabe's going to fade Aaron Rye. So, again, a little bit at odds here. I like Aaron Rye. I don't like the ownership, but I'm still playing him. Gabe's going to fade the ownership entirely. Mad Scientist play. Take a long look at Gary Woodland. Just very, very quickly. Gary Woodland at Sedgefield. I want you to notice something. he only plays well at this course, maybe. I want you to know something about Gary Woodland. He is traditionally not a very good putter. He's not a very good putter right now. But I want you to notice something about Gary Woodland. Gary Woodland has never, ever, 0 times lost strokes putting at Sedgefield. So I just infamously jinxed Gary Woodland. He's going to lose 10 strokes on the greens this week. But my mad scientist play is Gary Woodland, because he's also behind. He's on the bubble there. He needs to play well. So Gary Woodland is my mad scientist play. Gabe's going to go with Adams Vincent, who played very well at the 3M. FOMO, fear of missing out, player we're going to play despite our reservations about it. I'm going to go with Akshay Bhatia. The reservation about Bhatia, he is 0 for 4 in his career at Sedgefield. 0 for 4. Never made a cut here. He's been downright atrocious. Having said that, he is in form. He's red hot with the irons right now. So I'm going to play Akshay Bhatia and bank on the form being more important than the course history. Gabe's fear of missing out is Jake Knapp, considering how well he's played lately. And then our wild card category, the Bubble Boy, player from 60th to 80th. And we just set an arbitrary number there. But 60 to 80. Finau down to William Mao. We had to make a cut somewhere. We couldn't include everybody. So somebody between 60 and 80 that we think is going to play very, very well this week. Well, you saw mine. It's Emiliano Grillo. Grillo sits at 66th. I think he secures his playoff fairly handily. I do like the fit for Grillo here this week. And then Gabe is going to go with Seabez, who right now is sitting on the outside looking in at 74th. And he thinks he's going to secure his spot in the playoffs next week. So there is the DFS Tactics show. That's what I have for you this evening. I got a lot of people to thank. John, Darnell. Oh, wait. Before I do that, poll question. Quite a few of you have jumped in there. How many players play their way in and out of the top 70? The answer I would have given, it seems to be in the lead, about 3 to 4. That's probably what's going to happen. Somebody thinks that the top 70 right now is just set for next week. We don't even need to play. Here it is. Let's just go to next week. So good on you for for having that mindset. That's funny. But right now the leader for the poll question in chat in the community, 3 to 4, and that's what I would have said. So that's going to be it for the show. I need to thank John, Darnell, P, Joanne, Rose, scrolling down here, Pay, Derek, and Mike. Thank you all. Let me get to the actual camera. Thank you all very, very much for jumping into chat. Very much appreciate it. I always enjoy it. It's a lot of fun interacting with you all. You all had a lot of great questions this week. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll gladly look into the camera and admit that. I have been on a decent little bit of a hot streak lately. 4 straight weeks of very profitable returns, including 2 wins in a row. Hit Kitayama last week at the 3M. Hit Ryan Gerard at the Barracuda. So we're going to try and make it 3 weeks in a row for the Wyndham. Thank you all very, very much for jumping to chat. Thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I always appreciate it. Love what I do, taking a very in-depth look at golf statistics, giving you a statistician and data analyst view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. Let me know in the comments of the show or reach out to me on social media how your week goes for the last regular season event on the PGA Tour, the Wyndham Championship, as we prepare for, that's right, playoffs. So couldn't get in the show without that little nugget there. Thanks again for all the support, for all the wagers you've made this week for the Wyndham Championship, for all the DFS contests you play this week for the Wyndham Championship, for this weekend and every weekend. May all your bets be profitable.